Before we begin, I want you to notice something. If you've ever felt a quiet pressure when a woman looks at you and asks a question that seems simple but somehow carries weight, you're not imagining it. There is a reason those moments linger in your mind. And near the end of this conversation, something subtle but important will become clear. If this kind of understanding matters to you, you're welcome to stay connected by liking and subscribing, not as a favor to me, but as a commitment to your own growth. I'm Anastasia. And today I want to speak to you calmly, honestly, and without myths about what happens psychologically when a woman desires an older man. When a woman is drawn to an older man, the attraction is rarely about age alone. It's about what age often represents: emotional steadiness, self-definition, and a sense that a man knows who he is without performing for approval. But here's the part most men were never taught. When that desire forms, she doesn't rush forward. She evaluates. Not consciously, not manipulatively, but instinctively. Women don't test older men the way they test younger men. With younger men, tests often revolve around attention, consistency, or effort. With older men, the tests shift inward. They become psychological, and they usually arrive disguised as innocent questions. These questions are not interviews. They are emotional probes. She is not trying to trap you. She is trying to feel safe. A woman who desires an older man is often asking herself something quietly powerful. Is his strength real, or is it just age? And because she can't ask that directly, she listens for the answer beneath your words. One of the earliest questions she asks, sometimes out loud, sometimes indirectly, revolves around how you relate to your past. She might ask about a previous relationship, or why you're single, or what you've learned about love. On the surface, this sounds like curiosity. Underneath, she is listening for something much deeper. She is listening for emotional ownership. An older man who blames, resents, or positions himself as a victim of women doesn't feel safe, no matter how confident he appears. And an older man who overshares, overexplains, or tries to sound impressive often signals insecurity rather than wisdom. What she's drawn to is a man who can acknowledge his past without being defined by it. A man who speaks with clarity, not bitterness. Reflection, not performance. Groundedness, not defensiveness. This is where many men misunderstand attraction. They think the right answer matters more than the emotional posture behind it. But women don't bond to answers, they bond to stability. If you speak about your past as something you've integrated, rather than something you're still fighting, you communicate maturity without saying a word about your age. And here's the quiet truth. When a woman desires an older man, she's not looking for perfection. She's looking for regulation, someone whose nervous system doesn't spike under emotional weight, someone who doesn't collapse when the conversation turns real. That's what separates experience from wisdom. And as we continue, you'll begin to see how the second question she asks reveals even more, not about her, but about you. The second question a woman asks an older man rarely sounds like a question at all. It often arrives as a comment, a reflection, sometimes even a challenge. And if you miss what's really being asked, you may answer in a way that quietly weakens the attraction you never realized was being evaluated. This question revolves around one core theme: your relationship with control and freedom. She may say something like, "You seem very independent," or "You probably don't want anything serious," or even, "You must be set in your ways by now." These are not assumptions, they are invitations. She is listening for how you respond when your autonomy is gently questioned. When a woman desires an older man, she is often caught between two emotional pulls. One is attraction to his stability. The other is fear of being absorbed into a life that has no room for her. So she probes, not to dominate you, not to change you, but to understand whether your strength allows space or demands compliance. Many men fail this moment by overcorrecting. Some rush to reassure. They soften their edges, emphasize flexibility, downplay their structure. They want her to feel comfortable, so they shrink themselves slightly. Psychologically, this communicates uncertainty. It suggests that your life is adjustable based on approval. Other men do the opposite. They harden. They emphasize independence, routines, and self-sufficiency in a way that sounds closed rather than grounded. This doesn't communicate strength. It communicates emotional inaccessibility. What she's listening for is neither surrender nor rigidity. She's listening for self-leadership. A man who knows how to hold his life without clinging to it. A man who values his freedom but doesn't protect it with walls. A man who doesn't need to announce his boundaries because he lives inside them calmly. When you respond from that place, something subtle happens. Her nervous system relaxes. Because a woman who desires an older man is often asking herself, if I step closer, will I disappear? And the way you speak about your life answers that question more than any promise ever could. A grounded response sounds like ease. It carries the tone of someone who has direction, but not fear of connection. Someone who doesn't rush intimacy, yet doesn't resist it either. This is why silence, pacing, and emotional restraint matter so much here. Not distance, not coldness, but the ability to stay present without grasping. Women are deeply attuned to this because it mirrors safety. Emotional safety is not about being needed. It's about being welcomed. And here is something important most men were never taught. Attraction deepens when a woman feels she can enter your world without being responsible for holding it together. That's why this question matters so much. It reveals whether your confidence is relaxed or performative, whether your independence is integrated or defensive, whether your age has given you perspective or just habits. When a woman desires an older man, she is not searching for authority. She is searching for containment, a man who can hold emotional weight without trying to manage it. And if you understand that, you stop trying to pass tests because you realize something quietly powerful. These questions are not obstacles. They are openings. There is something deeper happening beneath both of these questions, something most men never see because no one ever slowed down enough to explain it to them. When a woman desires an older man, she is not evaluating him the way men often imagine. She's not keeping score. She's not waiting for perfection. She is sensing emotional gravity. She is asking herself whether being near you feels grounding or destabilizing. And this is where everything quietly comes together. The two questions you've just heard about, your relationship with your past and your relationship with freedom, are not separate tests. They are reflections of one core concern. Can I relax around him without losing myself? This is the unspoken fear that lives underneath desire. A woman can feel intense attraction and still hold back if her nervous system senses unpredictability. Not chaos on the surface, but emotional inconsistency underneath. That inconsistency often shows up when a man hasn't made peace with who he is, where he's been, or how he leads his life internally. Older men who truly stand out don't try to convince women of anything. They don't explain themselves into attraction. They don't chase emotional reassurance. And they don't perform maturity as a role. They embody coherence. Their words match their pace. Their tone matches their boundaries. Their presence matches their intent. And women feel this immediately, even if they can't articulate it. This is why an older man who stays calm when misunderstood, who doesn't rush to correct assumptions, and who doesn't tighten emotionally when a woman probes, often becomes far more attractive without trying, because emotional strength is revealed in how you hold ambiguity. When a woman asks these questions, she is watching how you respond when the frame is unclear, when the answer isn't obvious, when the moment requires composure rather than control. Many men think attraction is built by proving value. But at this stage of female psychology, attraction is deepened by emotional reliability. Can you stay present without demanding certainty? Can you stay open without dissolving structure? Can you stay grounded without needing to dominate the direction? These are not romantic tricks. They are psychological signals of safety. And safety for a woman who desires an older man is not about protection in the physical sense. It is about emotional steadiness. The sense that if she brings her full self, her doubts, her curiosity, her affection, it won't overwhelm you, confuse you, or make you pull away. Here's the quiet truth most men never hear. Women do not fall for age, they fall for integration. A man who has integrated his experiences doesn't flinch when life gets real. A man who has integrated his independence doesn't fear closeness. A man who has integrated his identity doesn't need validation to feel whole. This is what makes an older man magnetic across generations. Not money, not status, not mystery, but the calm authority of someone who is internally aligned. And when you understand this, something shifts. You stop trying to answer questions the right way. You stop framing conversations as evaluations. You stop wondering whether you passed or failed, because you realize something freeing. If a woman is asking you these questions, desire is already present. What determines whether it grows or fades is not cleverness, but congruence. And the most attractive response you can ever offer is not a line or a justification or a performance of wisdom. It is the quiet confidence of a man who knows his life, respects it, and allows others to step closer without losing himself in the process. That is what these questions are really measuring, not your age, but your emotional center.